What's up, guys? This is Creampuff of the Creampuff and Jeffro Show, and we're here to review episode 300 of AEW Dynamite. I don't regularly watch Dynamite, but I decided to give it a shot for you guys pretty much because I figured I needed something to review, and Jeff likes WWE more, so I was going to take the bullet and watch AEW. So, show starts out with a Hangman Adam Page promo. And all in all, the promo was pretty good. He was intense about it. He said he would die for this company before he lost to Jon Moxley at the pay-per-view, which is All In, I believe. And he promised to win the world title. He calls Mox out and said he wants a Texas death match. And Mox comes out, and it must be something with these Shield guys because Rollins did it on the WWE pay-per-view. It just took forever to get out to the ring. It was slow and plodding, and he gets in the ring, and he looks Hangman in the face and says, "You want me in Texas Death?" And Page is like, "Yeah, I want you in Texas Death," and Moxley says, "No." So Page was trying to get him to say yes. He said no, got out of the ring, and then the Death Riders come out, which was Claudio and Wheeler Yuta with his terrible puby beard, and they just beat the hell out of Hangman. They just beat his ass for like 5 minutes. And then he gets the neutralizer and he's laid out and they leave the ring. But it's not over because then Page gets up and he says, I'm not dead, I'm not down, I'm not out, I'm still standing." So then he says something to Claudio that pisses Claudio off. Claudio comes back, and at which point he's stopped from entering the ringside area by Samoa Joe and his group. And the announcers, which was Excalibur, Taz, and Ian Riccaboni, I think, they say, "Oh, they're here to watch Hangman's back." And I'm sitting here asking, where the fuck were they 5 minutes ago? I get that Hangman's a tough guy and all, but you can't fight off three dudes at once, as much as we'd like to think you could. So they're kind of just standing there jaw-jacking back and forth, and at this point, Hangman is screaming, "Give me Texas Death, give me Texas Death." And Moxley's kind of just like stumbling around. He must have been concussed or something, because this drew on longer than I think it was supposed to. It took forever, and eventually he said yes. And Marina Shafir was in the ring with the briefcase, and she goes to hit Hangman with it, and or no, that happened before this. But Hangman tells Moxley, he's like, just to prove that I can do anything, or I'm willing to do anything, he hits a buckshot lariat on Marina, and Marina taken out, and the crowd went fucking wild. So that was a pretty good spot. We follow that up with what I was so excited for. Mersedes Mone versus Mina Shirakawa for the TBS Championship, which you guys don't know this because it's only like my first review, second review with first review without Jeff, second review altogether, but I just don't see the appeal of Mercedes whatsoever. She's been a bitch as far as I can always remember. She's never been likable to me, and her backstage antics, even when she was in WWE and when she left there, and her interactions with fans since then and before then, I can't stand her. But at this point, Tony Khan and all these other indie promotions and New Japan and all these people, they're going to keep throwing money at her. And she has like 6 belts now, and she's challenging for another belt at All In. So you know what? I'm just gonna laugh about it because it's not worth getting angry about. So she comes out to the ring and her music hits, and the music itself chants CEO, which I'm assuming they did because no one else is going to do it for them. So she gets in the ring, and they try to do like a couple fast-paced arm drags and stuff, and they botch a couple of them, and it was kind of sloppy. Mercedes, after we get back from commercial break, sells her knee like no one else's business. They said that she got it rammed into the post and was putting a figure four, not finger, a figure four. And then right after they say this, Mina puts her in another figure four, and they do like the roll spot where she rolls over and it reverses the pressure, but they just keep rolling till they hit the ground out of the ring. At which point they do a couple spots, they trade spots back and forth. Mina hits a running DDT and Mercedes hits a Meteora, which I gotta say looks better than any other time I've seen her do it. Because back when she used to do it, she would over exaggerate her landing where when she would jump, she would look like she was trying to hold on to a bucking bull. So she actually just landed double knees. She sold her knee a little bit more, but then she forgot about it like a minute later. Back in the ring, Mina hits her finisher, and Mercedes kicks out at 2. A very nonchalant kick out. But don't count Mercedes Hogan out, because right after this, Mina hits a wicked knee. It looked more devastating than her finisher. Hits her wicked knee, and Mercedes kicks out like Hogan did Warrior, except Mercedes kicked out at 1 and Hogan kicked out right after the 3 count. So she's like shaking her head like Hogan. I'm like, she's got to be doing it on purpose at this point. And if she is doing it on purpose, kudos to her, because that's hilarious. So a couple more spots happen, and then Mercedes just wins with a roll-up. And I can't really be mad at that, because we were just talking about how everybody's got to hit a goddamn finisher nowadays. And I just want to see a match end with a clean roll-up, and that's what happened. And Mercedes kind of just sticking her tongue out like, yeah, I'm the best. Meanwhile, this whole time, Toni Storm has been sitting ringside, not on commentary, mind you, but she's been sitting there with a porterhouse sitting in front of her with a birthday cake, just staring at the ring. And they're like, oh, she's catatonic. But the look on her face, I don't know if she was supposed to like be focused or whatever, but she just looked like she was holding a poop the whole time. And I wasn't really about that. But Mercedes goes to attack Mina, and Toni hits the ring, and she's broken out of her trance or whatever. And Toni runs in the ring. Mercedes bails out, and as soon as she's out of the ring, Toni turns her back on Mercedes and starts looking at Mina. At which point, Mercedes gets in the ring and hits her with a belt. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I would have done. So then Mercedes gets out of the ring and licks the birthday cake. And I thought, oh, she's going to throw the birthday cake onto Toni Storm. And no, she kind of just licked it and put it down and threw water in Tony's butler's face, whatever his name is. At which point we go to commercial and we come back with a 4-way match to determine who will be the number 2 entrant in this Casino Gauntlet match. MJF versus AR, Where's Candy, Fox, and if you know, you know. And Anthony Bowens versus Brody King. MJF, as soon as the bell rings, gets on commentary and everybody's just like, yep. And then everybody starts beating each other up, doing spot after spot after spot. Come back right before we go to commercial. MJF starts trying to take advantage. Go to commercial. Later on in the match, MJF comes in with a chair. Brody counters that and then has all 3 guys in the same corner. Hits a Kevin Owens style cannonball. More spots from AR. Breaks up a pin with a dive. Breaks up Brody King's pin attempt with a dive, at which point MJF runs in and sticks him in the salt of the earth armbar and grabs his leg so he can't reach the rope with his leg, and AR taps out. So this match was never in doubt. If you thought AR Fox was winning, you're the only one. Anthony Bowens, I mean, he's a good wrestler and he's likable, but that's about it. And Brody King, other than selling a couple new t-shirts, he's not going to be doing much. Mark Briscoe comes out, challenges MJF to a promo battle next week, which I believe he referred to as a talkie talk. And I love Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe, he's perfect combination of comedy guy, but when he's in the ring, he's gonna take an ass whooping and give an ass whooping. So, him and MJF feud, I don't know much about it. Like I said, I'm just getting back into AEW now. This is a review for you guys, and I'm trying to get back in the product. Now, after this Mark Briscoe leaves, and I'm like, all right, segment's over. I was getting ready to get up and get something to drink. At which point, music hits again, and I'm like, why the fuck's music hitting? And it says jet speed on the crawl there. And I'm like, well, they must be coming out for this next match. No. Jet Speed, I guess. The one guy's name is Mike Bailey, Speedball Mike Bailey. I don't remember the other guy's name. But they come out and they hit the ring and they start beating up, or they start fighting with Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. And they just get their asses whooped. And granted, they had taped ribs as an excuse, but they just get their asses whooped. And then Lashley and Shelton leave the ring, and I'm like, all right, so these good guys came out and just got their asses kicked by the bad guys, at which point the good guys stumble to their feet and say, we're not down, we're not out. So Lashley and Shelton go back in and beat their asses again. And then they go to leave again, and I'm like, all right, let's prove the point. At which point the good guys stumble back up, and then Lashley and Benjamin go in and beat their asses again, like you would play with your kid, just smacking them around. Like there was no shot these guys were doing anything. And then at which point the good guys get up again, and then instead of having their asses beat a fourth time, the guy that's not Speedball Mike Bailey says, Sheldon, your mama must have taught you how to fight because you hit like a bitch. And Sheldon was offended by it. And he challenges Sheldon to a match. Yes, the good guy challenges Sheldon to a match for Saturday Night Collision, which happens tonight at the time of this recording. So I don't know why you think anything's gonna be different. Him and Mike Bailey couldn't do jack and literally got their asses whooped. Why do I need to see this match is my point. At least any normal booker would book this match, or book this to where the good guys just had a match and the bad guys come out and then beat their asses. You know what I mean? And then the good guy gets up. But, you know, who cares? Now, throughout the night, the Young Bucks had been flaunting that they were spending Tony Khan's money. They bought a limousine and filled it with Nike sneakers and all that, and they've been riding around California saying this is where we grew up and yada yada yada. So Young Bucks come out, Takeshita comes out to team with them, and they're wrestling Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and Bandito. If you thought I was going to spend any more than 5 minutes watching the ending of this match, you think very little of me, because I was not going to do that. So, Bucks and Takeshita win. Duh. Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong aren't winning anything. It's not 2019 NXT. So, Swerve and Ospreay come out. Yeah. Swerve and Ospreay come out after this match and attack the Bucks. The Bucks bail. Swerve and Ospreay say they want an answer to their question. Apparently last week they said that they want the Bucks to put their positions as EVPs on the line at the pay-per-view in their tag team match. The Bucks say no. And at which point, Ospreay says in his very thick British accent, kind of sounds like a fat child, to be honest, but says, well, if you put that on the line, we'll put that we can't challenge for the world championship for a year. At which point, Swerve got a little pissed off, but agreed, and the Bucks agreed, so stipulation is set for their tag match at the pay-per-view. At which point, Swerve and Ospreay had a match against the Beast Mortoast and Dralistico. I'm going to give you a minute to guess who won. Yeah, so you guessed it. Cool. All right. Main event, Kota Ibushi versus Kazuchika Okada. Ibushi looks a lot better since I last saw him. I believe he was riding around on a bike for the longest time. That might have been Shibata. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it was Ibushi. But Ibushi just looked terrible and out of shape and just weak. But now he looks good. He looks like he got that surgery he needed on his shoulder, I think it was, and looks really healthy. Came out. Okada wins the match. It was a good match. I didn't really take notes because I was just sitting there watching it and enjoying it for the most part. But he won with a Rainmaker, and he won with it, and he did not have to use a tombstone to set up to the Rainmaker, which I like. I don't know if he hasn't used the tombstone in a while, but he used to do the tombstone and then hit a clothesline. To me, you shouldn't be using a pile driver to set up anything. It's one thing if a guy kicks out of it, but he would hit a tombstone, pick the guy up, and then hit a clothesline. So, other than that, the match was really good, and then they go to do an attack on Ibushi, at which point music hits. Kenny Omega comes out to make the save, and he hasn't been seen in weeks since Okada's group took him out. Him and Ibushi celebrate together, and that's the end of the show. So, all in all, not a bad show. Like I said, I skipped a couple matches because there was no point. I have no interest in seeing Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly wrestle the Young Bucks and Takeshita. I just don't. If you think that's a problem, review the show yourself. I thought the Mercedes segment, honestly, I don't like Mercedes, but like I said, she must be picking up on the fact that people think she's Hulk Hogan. That don't work for me, brother, because she does some of his mannerisms, and if she's doing that, good on her. I might actually start being a fan, but I highly doubt that. As for the pay-per-view, I believe we said in our podcast that's being posted that was this weekend. It is not this weekend, it is next weekend. So they still have a week of build. So I'm not going to be reviewing Collision. I think for right now I'm just going to review Dynamite because it's the main weekly show. If I get any extra time, maybe I'll review Collision. But I can't wait for Mercedes to go on and win the women's championship because at this point I don't see her losing at all, ever, to anybody. So, my thoughts on the Hangman and Moxley. I like Hangman. Moxley I can live without. But he's the world champ, so I don't know. They're really building up Hangman to be the world champ, but I don't. I would love to see him win the world title again because he kind of got the short end of the stick after he won it last time, and I'd like to see him have a proper run. He did, or yeah, he had a really good promo, but something's telling me that he's losing at the pay-per-view, at which point Darby Allin's going to come back and make the save and then challenge for the world title at the next pay-per-view following this one, which, if that's the case, that means 3-4 more months of Jon Moxley as world champion, which we can't do that. Anyway, what were your guys' thoughts on the show? I'd love to hear what you got to say. If you disagree with me, I'd love to hear what your disagreement is. If you agree with me, even better. That means we got something in common. But if you could like this, if you could subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. It all helps. Anyway, be well, stay safe. You guys have a good one.